Hello and welcome to Paraphobia Radio. We are here Sunday night, and with me, like always, my badass co-host, the Shadow. How are you this evening?
Who the fuck is this Shadow you're talking about? I don't know
I
no
don't know.
badass
I
named
can't
Shadow.
see. Well, I can't see you, obviously.
Nah,
You're all covered in
I'm doing pretty
red.
good. Well, this is my war room. What do you expect?
I know, it's great. So, how are you?
Not too shabby.
Fantastic. So we have
So,
a very, very awesome guest. I can't wait to bring him on. The Shadow, you want to introduce who we have coming on tonight?
sure. But before we bring him on, I do want to make a couple of quick announcements. And one is this show is streaming on Parapost.
Hmm.
If you're looking for more paranormal content, you can take a swing by Parapost Network Essentials. You can find them on Facebook. They also have an app which is available for both Android and iOS. You'll find all kinds of great shows out there. And if you have a show of your own and you want to find a network to stream to, Parapost. So take a swing by, check them out, and be a part of a growing community. Also, Paraphobia is going to be getting a facelift. So stick around.
Ooh.
You know, Ann and I have been talking about redesigning the logo. We're going to keep the name, but we're going to kind of clean up the image a little bit, and hopefully everybody will like it. So, other than that, uh, our guest tonight, he is the founder of Project Stargate Paranormal Research Society, and he is also the host of Project Stargate Fringe Research, as well as What Lies Beyond. He's been around for 20 years, and he's got a lot to talk about. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mark Brenner.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to see you both.
Hey,
Good to see
thanks
you.
for being here, Mark. So I see you have quite a lot to talk about. But before we get into that, let's tell everyone a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My humble beginnings. I was raised in the state of Mississippi. We, I grew up in the north eastern side of the state, and kind of near Columbus Air Force Base. And my dad, he was a Navy veteran, and he served during the Cold War era. So he did some missions in nuclear submarines that are still classified to this day.
Mhm.
And he met my mom down in Pascagoula, Mississippi, and they got married. So, in my other part of the family is down in South Mississippi still to this day.
Wow.
Um, and But at any rate, I'll just kind of break it down for you guys like this.
Sure.
I Ever since I was, as long as I can remember, I've had paranormal experiences of various types, everything from UFOs to missing time experiences, parapsychological phenomenon of various types. And I'll, like when I was small, the earliest experience that I remember having was when I was about three, and it kind of went from that, went throughout my life,
Hmm.
and because of all of that, I joined the military when I was 20, and I served in the Army, the Third Infantry Division, that through 2003, and when I got out, I started having these memories flooding in with from it was almost like a download, or a lot of it was in dreams. Some of it was just in these aha moments that would catch me off guard. And
Right.
the I started researching. I started researching UFOs, ufology. I started researching that led me into parapsychology, and then that led me into Bigfoot research, and then it just exploded from that. It's like one thing led me to another thing, led me to another thing, and
Wow.
about 3 years ago, I founded the Project Stargate Paranormal Research Society with my partner Greg Ship, and
Hmm.
then we started a podcast called Project Stargate Fringe Research, and It was a pre-recorded interviews. I interviewed people like Dr. Barry Taff, the famous parapsychologist Lloyd Auerbach, and a
Right.
bunch of people with MUFON and some other notable researchers like Kathleen Marden. I've had her on my show, and
Awesome.
yeah, a lot of people on Unsolved Mysteries who's been on segments of that,
Cool.
and shows like Ancient Aliens and stuff like that. So it's, as far as that goes, I've been fairly successful, but I'm trying to get my new show, What Lies Beyond, kind of off the ground
Nice.
with my limited time that I have,
Right. Yeah.
But
Not
that kind of sums it up as far as I'm concerned.
nice. Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds like you got a lot going on for yourself. Sounds wonderful, actually.
Yeah, my experiences have been I've had a very diverse types of experiences, like I kind of mentioned. If you'd like me to, I can kind of jump into the beginning if you like, and kind of walk you guys through it a little bit.
Sure, you're more welcome.
And if any time you have a question, please stop me because I have a tendency to run my mouth.
No, hey, no worries. We will make sure we'll get those questions in for you. So, but like I said, talk as much as you need to and let us know everything, a little bit of everything.
Oh, one last thing before I start. I have my research partner here. This is Moto
Oh,
Kitty. He's
so cute.
He sits in my lap here at my command center, and he either attacks my hand or he lets me know if I'm onto something. He'll go,
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's one of my best friends.
Oh.
My cat's just an asshole.
Oh, is he?
I got two of them.
I have 4. Beat you.
Yeah.
Oh wow! I have 3 dogs and I have 2 cats. Yeah, we have too many animals.
Well, there's speculation that our first cat might have Mancoon, part Mancoon, only because he can stand up on his hind legs and put his paws just over my hip on my side.
Wow!
Now, just to give you more context, I'm almost 6'2".
Wow, you're a big boy, man.
He is.
Yeah. So when Calvin gets up on my stand up like that, which usually means he wants dinner or treat. Calvin will he'll kind of nudge me upon me. Poe, on the other hand, this little fucker, he will get up on the back of my gaming chair and dig his claws and just rip the leather until I get off the chair and give him a treat.
My chair here, I gotta buy a new one. He's destroyed my chair because I game too on my rig here.
Yeah,
I've got an Intel i7 powered rig that does everything for me. So, but anyway, I just wanted to mention that.
Oh, it's okay.
You were saying.
But anyway, I excuse me. One of my earliest experiences, and this really started coming back to me whenever I was it was about 3 or 4 years old. My grandparents, I call them Mama and Papa. I'm a Southern boy, down in South Mississippi, in the Laurel and Hattiesburg areas where a lot of my family's from. They get a lot of tornadoes. By the way, I thought I'd mention this. I'm also a certified storm spotter for NOAA and NWS.
Very nice.
That's another thing I'm into. And
cool.
Yeah. But anyway.
Scary, but good.
Yeah, it's fascinating research. It's amazing. But anyway, they would come get me, and I would stay down at their house. They had a basement in their house, and my grandfather owned a truss plant where they built trusses for structures, houses, and commercial structures.
Okay.
And he was very successful. But what I remember when I was about 3.5, 4 years old, I think. And they had me this one night. They had me sleep in the basement bedroom, and there was a short hallway where there were stairs going up to the main level, and then there was a bathroom, and then there was a basement garage adjoined to it from there. And I remember waking up, and it was in the middle of the night. I don't know what time it was, But I woke up and there was three. I could see. I was fully awake. I sat
Okay.
up and I could see three entities standing at the foot of my bed. Now, these entities, I remember what they looked like very well. It was not a dream. I was fully awake. Like, as I remember interacting, I was interacting with these beings to a certain degree.
Right.
Um, they were probably about 3.5 foot tall. They were wearing what I describe as druid cloaks with hoods,
Okay.
and I could see their face. Their face was very prevalent. They're what today they call them the short grays. Um, they had the huge wraparound almond eyes, and I didn't know what that stuff was. I didn't know anything. I had no idea. I'd never seen any movies. When I was little, my parents sheltered me quite a bit. I didn't know anything about that stuff, but I saw these creatures. They were just standing there, and I remember what I do remember is they were giving me these ideas in a sort of a telepathic way. They never spoke. They never had an audible language, but I would get these ideas in my mind, like I should follow them or do whatever. And
Right.
I was petrified. I was completely petrified. I had no idea what was going on. And I'm thinking, I was probably thinking, knowing how I am, I was probably thinking, this is something that everybody goes through that's just scary or whatever. But
Right.
I got out of bed and I started to follow them because, I didn't want to get in trouble. I thought
Right.
maybe I'd get in trouble if I didn't follow them. And we went through the door and we walked into the bathroom, and in the bathroom there was a crawl space, like with a little door. I'd say about 4 foot hatch you could open up, but
Okay.
instead of that door, there was this big black void. It was black. It was pitch black,
Wow.
pitch black like their eyes. Their eyes were just the darkest thing you could ever imagine. I mean, they're
Uh-uh.
beyond dark,
Damn.
and they wanted me. Yeah, they wanted me to follow them through that, and that's the last thing I remember. I don't remember anything after that. So that was one of my early experiences. Um, Throughout my childhood, there was another instance, I believe, where we had missing time, and this is where later on in the show I want to explain my generational theory.
Okay.
That I
Well,
think,
I do have one quick question.
yeah,
Were your parents religious at all?
yes, I'm religious. My parents are religious. Yes,
Okay, okay. Well, I just wondering because you said that your parents had kind of sheltered you, and usually that because the parents tend to be very religious or um, extremely. I don't want to say narrow-minded, but they're closed to any possible uh, paranormal thought or
sure.
anything outside of what they can see.
Yeah.
That's a good question, man. And I'll tell you this: I'm a very devout Christian man myself, and
Hmm.
I have yet to come across anything that's not compatible with my religion.
Right,
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. But we'll get to that later.
right, right.
I'll explain it to you. I'll explain it to you because there's a crux here that I've come to some conclusions.
Okay.
Um, so another instant, I lived in Columbus, Mississippi. I was about 8 years old, 7 years old. A lot of times during my grandparents would come spend the weekend with us, and we would because it was only like a 3 hour drive from where they lived to where we were living near the Air Force Base. And so I told, I'd get real excited. I wanted to go spend some time with my mama and papa. And that weekend I asked if I could go home with them. And they said that, yeah, that's fine. And my parents didn't mind. They didn't mind. So I just got in when it was time for them to head home, we got in the vehicle and we were driving south. It was getting kind of late. I remember where this incident happened because in South Mississippi, if you're going south, um, like you're going to from Columbus to you'll run into I-20, Interstate 20,
Okay.
and
Yep.
59. They're kind of together until you get to past Meridian. So before we got to that point, I remember seeing a sign for Philadelphia, Mississippi, which is a casino town.
Right.
It's on a reservation or something.
Okay.
And at that, right after we passed that sign, right after, this huge bright object flew in front of our vehicle,
Huh.
and
Wow.
it was it was so fast, like it startled me. I didn't know what it startled all of us, I think. The next thing we knew, it was almost midnight, and we were uh, pulling into the driveway of their house. Now, keep in
Okay.
mind, we had left in the early evening. You know, it was only a 3-hour trip from
Right.
where I was living to their house. And
Mm.
then after that, I was very sick. I became violently ill that night. I
Oh.
was, yeah, I was sick. My grandmother was. I remember she was very out of sorts. My grandfather didn't say anything. He he
Huh.
he just is like he was programmed to just keep driving or whatever. But you know, based on the information I can recall, fairly accurately, I believe, it seems that we had some degree of missing time because you know we should have been there around 10:30 in the evening, and we didn't get there till midnight. So
Wow.
you know, I think we lost at least an hour, maybe more of time.
Hmm.
What happened? I have no idea. So that you know, stuff like that, these memories like that in my early childhood were kept coming back and started creeping back into my consciousness. Um, and I think that I'm very convinced that some things happened
Right.
during that. And I even know, and at times I thought I'd note this also. I used to see this band that I would crawl under. I made my mom and dad's bed, dining room table into like a clubhouse, and I remember this guy would out of the blue would crawl under it. Nobody else saw this guy but me. I think he was my guardian angel. I'm pretty sure he was. So that
Yeah.
you know, I had a lot of things like that happen.
Do you understand why these things are happening to you in such a weird phenomenal way?
Well, when I get to the crux of this, the crux is my personal experiences and all the research I've done. I think that
Right.
there is a connection between all this stuff. And
Well, yes,
to a certain
sounds like
degree.
it. Yeah, absolutely.
Um, but at any rate, my teenage years, you know, I had a lot of problems growing up with depression. I fought depression and anxiety my whole life. It's been very
Right.
prevalent. And during, you know, I was bullied a lot in school. Um, you know, during from first grade on through, I'd say my 10th grade year, I was bullied a lot. And
Yeah.
I was very depressed. And it was on some ways it was a great childhood. Some ways it wasn't. You know, it's kind of one of those things. And but during my teenage years, I had an experience when I was 13 that I will never forget. It was very very intense experience. I
Okay.
I woke up. I was living in Birmingham, Alabama at the time, and I woke up one night and I couldn't feel the bed underneath me. There's no bed underneath me, and
Wow. Weird.
I could see the ceiling, like I was closer to my ceiling than I was
Right.
not touching my bed. But the thing is I couldn't move. I was paralyzed, um, and I felt this pressure, like right here on my chest, and I couldn't. I was having a hard time breathing.
Wow.
I was, yeah. Um, and the other thing about it is I heard this some kind of bizarre sound. I remember hearing some kind of sound, It was like a metallic screeching type sound. It was really, it's hard to describe. It was really, really strange.
Hmm.
But the next thing I knew, I dropped to my bed and fairly pretty forcefully. I hit my bed and then I blacked out. And I don't know what happened, but something paranormal happened. I'm pretty sure, because when I woke up the next morning, here on my wrist, you can't see it very well. I'll send you a picture, a clear picture.
Okay. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Definitely.
I have a scoop mark,
Okay.
and I got it. I remember my right wrist feeling kind of sore.
Right.
Um, the next morning, and I never hurt myself. I never injured myself. And that was this very clear mark, which is still on here today. Sometimes it fades a little bit, but then it comes back. It's really strange.
Yeah.
It's still there. It's still there to this day. And I never really, I could not ever really come up with an explanation as to what happened. I'm thinking maybe I had some sort of experience that night.
Oh, I'm sure you did. I mean, that's very bizarre not knowing that you can feel your bed or anything that matter. That'll kind of freak me out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It was bad.
so with all this going on, all these different phenomena, is that what got you into, the paranormal and UFOs and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah. You know, my experiences didn't stop there. When I was older, before I joined the army, I was 19 years old.
Right.
I was working at a grocery store with my brother and my sister-in-law, and there was this really nice Canadian young girl, and she befriended me, and she lived in the same estate neighborhood that my parents lived in, on the opposite side.
Right.
And she invited me to come over to her house. I was, and keep in mind, even despite, at this point in my life, I wasn't thinking about what happened in the past. It wasn't something that was on my mind. Something that happened to me later, I think, triggered these memories to come back, and that hasn't happened yet. So keep that in mind. So I went over to her house, and there was a group of us there, and she said she was having like poltergeist like activity in her home.
Okay.
So what she did, she said we had like a beer. I mean, I wasn't intoxicated or anything. I had like one beer. And she brought out a Ouija board. Now, I just want to disclaim something. This is not something that I practice. This is something that I was very, I didn't really know what to think about it. I was kind of skeptical about it, but my skepticism very quickly faded away. So there was about four of us, and then there was a steno that was writing down things. There was
Right.
was a steno, and it kept telling us we would put our fingers, like this on the planchette, just barely lay them down on the planchette. We weren't forcing our fingers on it. We all kind of checked each other before we started.
Right.
And what blew me away was that you could actually feel a force. There was a force that was moving that planchette. I don't know what, it was unexplainable. It reminded me of some of my research in parapsychology, telekinesis.
Right.
It seemed like something like that, but I really don't think it was that. I think it was some other kind of external alien type intelligence of some sort that was moving the board, the planchette.
So, with all the stories you hear about Ouija boards and how bad they are to be if you don't use them right, what really, made you want to use it at that point?
Well, it's not something that I was going there looking for. I just wanted to hang out with some friends, and she did spark my curiosity because of the alleged poltergeist phenomenon that was happening in her home.
Wow.
And so that we were asking it questions like, who's going to get married? Am I going to get married? And the funny thing is it laid out the initials of my first wife. I wouldn't meet for another 2 years at that point. My first ex-wife, and
Wow.
this is where it got really bizarre. So it would occasionally stop, and the planchette would turn towards me and kind of do this business, kind of like point towards me, and and they would tell me to go answer the door. It would say do that, and it'd say answer the door. Well, where she lived, there's a very long driveway down to the cul-de-sac, and
Mhm.
you can't really hear anybody pulling up. And so I went to the door, and much to my surprise, another person was joining us.
Right.
This person was walking up to the door as I opened it. Didn't have a chance to ring the doorbell or knock. And this person came in, and I was kind of blown away by that. I was like, wow, this is really strange. It's kind of bugged me out a little bit.
Yeah. It would me too. Me like, no. Okay, I'm good now.
Yeah,
I got a
absolutely.
question about the board.
Yeah,
Did you use the one that was commonly found in stores or online, or did you actually get one that was a little more handcrafted?
I didn't get it. It wasn't mine. It was my
Okay,
friend that I was visiting at the time.
right.
I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. It looked like a generic everyday board that Hasbro makes or whatever. You know,
Oh,
Yeah, Hasbro or Mattel, one of the two. I remember that.
yeah,
Yeah.
whichever one it is.
yeah.
But here's the thing. It did the same thing again and asked me to go answer the door. But this time, when I went to go answer the door, there was nobody there. But
Right.
right after I kind of walked halfway out to I walked onto the threshold. And when I did that, in a 90-degree summer evening here in Georgia, uh, this very cold rush of air came in. And I had goosebumps, chill bumps all over my body. It was really strange.
Yeah,
And then,
I know how humid Georgia gets because I lived in Atlanta, well, actually just outside of Atlanta, for 2 years, right off of Cobb Parkway.
oh, okay. I
Yeah.
lived about an hour north of the city, in Forsyth County. That's where I was living.
Oh, yep, yep.
Yeah,
So yeah, it gets humid in Georgia.
it is. It is extremely. Mississippi's even worse.
Oh, I
I'm gonna
bet.
tell you, it's even worse, man.
Yeah, because
But
Mississippi doesn't have that Gulf Stream that comes in to kind of take away some of that humidity like it does with Georgia. So it just kind of sits there in Mississippi around all those woods and mountains.
yeah, absolutely. And by the way, just a side note, that's why Alabama, Mississippi gets a lot of supercell thunderstorms and tornadoes, is
Oh
because of
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Mhm.
But anyway, besides the point. So I went from being a skeptic to a believer, but my experiences did not stop there. It did not
Right.
by any means stop there. I was driving home, and back again. I lived on the opposite side of this country club estate neighborhood that we were living in, and it was night. It was fairly late. I wouldn't say it was like 11:30, 12 o'clock. It was pretty late when I was going home, maybe even a little bit later.
Mhm.
And as I was driving, I noticed that the roads were very well lit with street lamps.
Mhm.
Okay.
And as I was driving, these street lamps would just they would go out. They'd stop, and they completely turn off. And then as I would pass them, they would come. I was looking in my rear view. They would come back on.
Right.
I'm sitting here thinking, how can this be? What
True.
did I get myself into?
Yeah.
So I got home. I was very tired. I tried to put it out of my mind. And as I went home and I laid down in bed, this I immediately went into a very lucid dream. Usually it seemed very quick when it happened. As far as I could tell. And in this experience, I was sitting with my friend and her girlfriend. We were sitting there in front of this little table with the board, and the planchette was in the middle, and they were
Okay.
just kind of sitting here like this, and they seemed to be in some kind of trance, both of them, and the planchette was spinning wildly in front of in the middle of the board, and then all of a sudden it flies off, and when it happened, I woke up. It flew off towards me, actually. I wake up and I look to my right, and there's this entity sitting next to my bed, and it was the most grotesque, horrifying thing I've ever heard of I've ever seen in my life. Um, it kind of looked like it had a round face, big black eyes, and then it had these massive teeth and everything. And that was that was the last time I ever messed with anything like that. And it was it was a very bizarre and terrifying experience.
Would you say that was
Yes.
your most terrifying?
Oh no.
I knew
Well,
there was more in there.
Yeah.
see, I only ask because a lot of times when people have, they mess with Ouija boards, most of the time the interactions are pretty benign, and every once in a while it might get intense. But when you hear about people having like some super intense experience, I know a lot of times people just tend to, make up a bunch of shit just to sell a story, get more attention, whatever. But there are those where the interaction with these boards really do take a bad turn. What was the worst one for you?
So that was the only time I ever messed with anything like that. I'm not really big. I don't really mess with the occult. Really, I depend on my faith for things like that.
Mm-hmm.
For general things. I've been very successful with that. But I will tell you. I'll tell you about an experience I had after I got out of the military. So when I was going through a nasty divorce, and I rented a room to stay to live in. It was in a small house in an area called Ball Ground. Now, Ball Ground is just to give a side note on Ball Ground, Georgia. It is an area that I have dubbed the Coal Mountain Triangle here in North Georgia, and I can get into that in more detail later if you want me to.
Sure.
But that town has a deep history of the following: UFO sightings, cryptid sightings, and lots of haunted locations. I mean, just everywhere. There's also some. Uh, I found out later through some research there was a satanic cult that operated out of this place. Um, don't know much about it, but you could pretty much ask anyone that lives in the area. They'll say, yeah, they're out there, or they used to be. I don't know if it's still going on, but it's not a very it's a very bizarre and strange place, kind of not unlike the Bridgewater Triangle, the Alaskan Triangle. It's kind of like that.
Okay.
Skinwalker Ranch. It's just one of those types of areas. But this house I was living in was really old. There was a couple that lived in one room, one big room. There was another guy that slept in this other room, and I was in a room by myself. And I was renting this room out just temporarily. And one night I was I was listening to I was listening to Whitley Strieber, Dreamland. I was listening to his podcast Dreamland, and I shut it off, and I went to sleep, and I went to another lucid dream. And when I during this dream, this massive snake, huge snake, started slithering. I saw its head slithering up above the bed,
Mm.
and it swallowed my feet, and it slowly just kind of started swallowing my legs, and it got up to my chest, and
Wow.
it's like it just clamped down really hard on me. And when that happened, I woke up. I was in terrible chest pain. I was having the worst chest pain in my life. I have heart problems, but
Right.
this is beyond that. It was horrible. And it was kind of traumatic, actually. I would even say that. to a degree. And when that happened, I woke up and I heard footsteps outside the house. I could hear the leaves and stuff rustling right outside my window. So I got my flashlight and I got a baseball bat and I ran out. I ran out the front door, thinking there's some kind of an intruder or whatever. And I walked around the side of the house and I heard something rustling on the other side. So I doubled back around. There was nobody there. There wasn't a time for someone to hightail it out of there, off this property. There was no one there. Period. Zilch. No, not a soul.
Wow.
And that was
Well,
one of
you
my.
might have looked around you, but did you look up?
So no, I'll be honest with you. I didn't. I didn't check the roof or look up in the sky or anything like that.
Or even on the roof?
Yeah. I mean, you would think I would. This is dumbass on me.
No, I would have forgotten too, but yeah.
I was a little frightened and I was a little startled and bewildered by the situation.
Right.
But at any rate, that was one of my most terrifying experiences. Definitely. Now, some of the other things that I've had, this has been very prevalent in my family history. Now, I keep in mind, I have traced I believe that it's generational phenomenon for my family. And a lot of times if you're having, especially UFO phenomenon, if it's happening to you, if you're having missing time experiences or some kind of abduction event or whatever, there's a good chance it happened to your mom and dad, your grandparents, and some of your aunts and uncles and cousins. There's a good chance of it. It's like a family curse or something like that, or something that affects you generationally.
Right.
I've had a lot of UFO sightings, some at close range and some at not, up in the atmosphere. But I know enough about being a prior service Army. I'm very familiar with aircraft. I'm pretty familiar. I'm familiar with helicopters. I'm familiar with a certain type of jet aircraft, and none of these objects that I saw that I would say is unexplained. They didn't fit that criteria as conventional aircraft. I'll give you a quick example. The summer of 2017, that was a very active summer. I was still going through a divorce, and I left that house, and I went to live with my mom and dad for a little while to get on my feet,
Right.
to save as much money as I could, and they graciously let me come back and stay with them for a year or two. Very thankful for that. But at any rate, for the summer of 2017, every night, almost every single night on the dot, I was having this UFO sighting. This object would manifest in the horizon, just over the horizon. It looked like it was about 50 to 100 feet above the wood line, and I would see this object. Now, as a side note, I'd mention this. My mom and dad and myself was experiencing poltergeist phenomenon this summer. Just out of the blue, we had a poltergeist outbreak. So we were having that go on in the house. But I got my partner, Greg Ship, that I mentioned earlier. We were working together at the time, and I said, Greg, we were working one night and closing our department at one of the mega retailers that we worked at together. And I said, Greg, I've been seeing this object. I've been seeing it appear and disappear and then reappear in other areas of time space on different sides of the horizon. I said, would you like to come over, and would you mind coming over and witnessing this with me?
Right.
And he's like, yeah, I'll come over and hang out with, because we were hanging out from time to time. And he came over to the house. He followed me home, and we parked the cars in the driveway, and across the street there was this clubhouse, and then there was a man-made lake with a big walking path around it. And I would go out there and just I'd lay on the picnic bench and just stare up at the stars sometimes, and just trying to think my life through and everything and whatnot. And so we set up on that we went to the gazebo, which is right past it. And sure enough, like clockwork, this object manifested. It was fairly close. I would say it was about 2 miles away, maybe less.
Mm-hmm.
And this object would blink out like this, and then it would reappear somewhere else. It's like it was just zipping out of our space-time continuum, and then it was reappearing somewhere else. And we also saw jet aircraft entering the airspace from Dobbins Air Force Base. So I'm thinking they were like F-16 interceptors or something like that.
Okay.
And then this object hightailed it. I mean, it was there 1 second and gone. It was just you could kind of see it taking off, but it moved. So it was probably moving. It had to have been moving well over 10,000 miles an hour. It was just incredible. No human being could withstand that. There's just no way.
Yeah, no.
So, that kind of sums up what, that's the kind of stuff I've experienced. And then throughout my life. And then I decided to take my research to the next level. And I founded
absolutely.
Project Stargate Paranormal Research Society, and then that evolved into a podcast,
nice.
Which you were on. I had you on it.
Yeah. Yes, you did.
I remember.
Thank you very much.
That. I really enjoyed it. Collaborating with you. And
now you're on mine.
This is everything comes for a full circle.
Absolutely.
But anyway, that's kind of what where I was at, and the crux. I'll throw the crux here for you and your listeners. After when I started researching all these different phenomena, I started researching the UFO stuff, and what I noticed when I was researching UFO phenomenon and everything related to it. And I had this inkling. I kept running into these common threads of paranormal phenomenon associated with it.
Right.
And I couldn't deny that. There's a lot of paranormal phenomenon associated. One of the common threads, like you would say, that you would get from a haunted house, for example, and parapsychological phenomenon like PK. And UFOs, they all share one thing in common, that's EMF and electronic interference. Very common. Batteries dying, cars, engines, the electronics in vehicles, they get killed off temporarily. And then as I noticed that in some of my other experiences, and then that led me into parapsychology. I wanted to understand more about paranormal phenomena, and there's two sides to it. There's a spiritual side to all of this, then there's a science side to all of this. They're one and the same. They connect, just like this, and so the spirit, as far as the parapsychology, for those of you who aren't familiar with that term, parapsychology is the study of hypnosis and psychic phenomena, which includes telekinesis, clairvoyance, or remote viewing, as it's called, PK or telekinesis, and death survival, which that houses near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, ghosts, whatever ghosts are, and stuff like that. So, and then that led me into cryptid research, believe it or not.
Wow.
It was just a wild ride. I just kept going through down the line. And one thing, I wasn't looking for Bigfoot. I found Bigfoot by accident by researching UFOs, and
Yeah,
parapsychology.
yeah, it all comes together. You'll be really surprised what you could really get yourself into these days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is a wild ride. It was a
Oh,
really wild ride.
yeah. So with all this stuff that you have going on, all these phenomenons and all these crazy happenings, you ever think about putting it into a book and writing one?
You know, I've had some people tell me. I thought about it, and it's on the back burner. Writing a story about my life, a book about my life experiences, and then um, putting in chapters about the research and how it all fit together.
Right.
All this stuff is a piece of the paranormal puzzle. The UFOs. I want to go on record by saying this: the UFO phenomenon and the occupants of these UFOs. We don't. At the end of the day, nobody knows what they are. I
No.
want to make that very clear. We have no idea. We could be dealing with something angelic in nature,
Right.
either fallen or angels. We could be dealing with ETs. There's the extraterrestrial hypothesis, and then there's the interdimensional hypothesis. And I think the interdimensional in the first one would be one of those two would be more likely, and based on the information I've uncovered. But I'm still open. I'm open to all these possibilities.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's crazy with all this supernatural and all this phenomenon. We're always learning something new all the time, and no matter how much we think we cover all the research we think we know and have done, but then something else pops up and something else pops up new. It's like, what is going on? So you might as well jump into everything that's out there for you to know, because you never know that you're going to run into something like that. So you might as well know about it.
absolutely. And I encourage, and I really, I want to, if there's anything I could, one thing I can leave with your listeners, I really encourage people to have an open mind. I came to this stuff as a devout man of faith, and I'm still a devout man of faith. There is a lot about the creation in the universe that we don't understand, that we
No,
may
we
never
know.
understand.
No.
Just
Be
because,
careful with that can of worm.
exactly. But we, there's a lot of things that are unexplained, and the more open mind we keep, the more closer we will come to solve these unique mysteries.
Hopefully, hopefully we're
Well,
all like that in this paranormal community.
Yeah.
well, one of the reasons why I say be careful with that can of worms, is I've got, I've sat underneath some impressive theologians, historians, and I've had the chance to listen to a lot of people talk about the creation. And some of the things that I've always was impressed by, for one, is the level of ignorance on both sides, whether you're a religious person or a scientific person. And one of the biggest things that I've always pointed out is when it comes to creation, everybody gets this idea that, God created the heavens and the earth and man in 7 days in a week. The problem with this is there's actually several scriptures that point out to the disconnect between God and time, because time did not move the same way for God as it does for us. And one of the most popular scriptures is a day with the Lord is as 1,000 years.
That's interesting you mentioned that, because our perception of time might be completely different of what the creator's
right. So
perception of time.
right. So when you read the passage that on the first day God created the heavens and the earth, that day wasn't 24 hours. That day could have lasted 100,000, could have lasted 1,000,000 years. We don't know. And the other misconception is that people think in linear chronology. They think, okay, God created the heavens and the earth on Sunday, year zero, next day, Monday, year zero. No, it wasn't like that. The Bible does not say either way how much time passed between each of those days. So
that's interesting.
So the idea that God created the heaven and the earth in 7 days a week, while if you ascribe to the idea of God, which I myself do. It's not impossible for him to do that, but the
No, it's
Bible
not.
doesn't
It's
really
not
say that.
impossible.
It just says that there are 7 points in time that God moved, that he did an act. Doesn't necessarily mean a week. It's just 7 points in time. It's our finite thinking as mortal beings that we've managed to constrict it down to a Chaldean calendar system that comes out of ancient Sumer of 7 days, which is completely BS in my opinion.
Yeah, I've actually. I'm glad you brought that up because I agree with that. That is a definite possibility. I've actually pondered that myself. What is time?
Mhm.
According to relativity, time is like I think time, time, space, and gravity are three things that connect together, and when one of them's affected, it affects the other two. That's the and
Mhm.
that's, I believe is one of the end results of Einstein's theory of relativity. And I think time is like what is actually does serves another purpose that we're not aware of. I think it's like a cosmic glue that binds time and space together. I think it's very, but yeah, I have an open mind to that too, because our perception of that may be different from how God actually did it. And, his
Mhm.
his version of a day might be something different from our version. I've actually pondered that. That's a very good point.
Now, since you're on the subject of UFOs, one of the other things that I've always kind of thought about was the idea that, first off, I find it hard to believe that we as Homo sapiens or modern humans are the only intelligent beings out there in the cosmos that is capable of art, philosophy, rationalizing emotion, dreams, aspiration, things like that. So for me, there has to be something else out there. Now, the question comes down to which came first, us or them? And I'm more inclined to believe that they're out there, that whatever life is out there has been around longer than we have. Simply because if you look at the Big Bang Theory, which I know is going to irritate the daylight out of a lot of people who are atheists or all science hardcore, but the Big Bang Theory was actually put forward by a Jesuit priest. Not many people are aware of that. But anyway, if you look at the way everything moved from the Big Bang, from that point of where everything exploded outwards, what happened between the Big Bang point and us? We're talking billions of years. Anything could have happened. Civilization could have risen and fallen. Planets could have been made and destroyed. Who's to say that the meteors and comets that we're getting aren't remnant of an ancient civilization, which is one of the reasons why they find bacteria on these rocks that they theorize may have helped the evolution of mankind or life on this planet.
Yeah,
It's a really, really strange idea, but again, it's not outside the realm of possibility, and from a religious perspective, should only go to show that God is not a single, linear, limited God, that he is able to do many things. If he is beyond time and space, he can do whatever he darn well pleases.
absolutely, and that's a good point. I'm open to a lot of these possibilities. That is a very interesting thought you had. And like I said, there's a lot of mysteries about God
Mhm.
and creation and everything. And I keep an open mind because if He is mighty and all powerful, and I believe He is, there's no telling what He could have done. There's no
Right.
telling. Yeah, and that's a good point.
Now, you say you do cryptid hunting.
Oh no! I don't do
Oh,
cryptid
I shouldn't
hunting.
take. I don't mean cryptid hunting. You study cryptid.
I have not quite as much as I have the other stuff, but like I said earlier, these other two subjects led me into at some point various points led
Mm.
me into Bigfoot research, and I have a profound interest in it. The only thing is, I had like on my for example on before Anna, before you came on my last program, Project Stargate, um, I had Ron Moorhead on my show, and he wrote a book. He's famous for the Bigfoot sounds out of the Sierra Mountains.
Hmm.
Um, he wrote a book called Quantum Bigfoot, and in that book, he talks about all these ideas about what Bigfoot is and how it relates to UFOs and God and paranormal phenomena. It's a very interesting book, and I definitely I I remember I really enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed the book, and that'd be a good read for anybody who's really interested and has an open mind in the cryptid world.
And what was the name of the book, and what was the name of the author again?
Okay, the book is called Quantum Bigfoot, and it's written by Ron Moorhead.
Okay.
Ron
Okay.
Moorhead. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
So, what are
Absolutely.
your thoughts on all that?
So my thought on Bigfoot and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think it's a mystery. I have never had a cryptid encounter that I know of, but I will say this: based on the research I have done, I believe it's part of the whole paranormal mystery.
It is.
I think that it comes from. I have a good reason to believe that it may be interdimensional. We've actually there's been cases, quite a bit of cases, where UFOs have been seen with a Bigfoot. We've in the
Mhm.
vicinity, or seen some people have actually claimed to have taken a shot at a Bigfoot or something, and it disappear in a flash of light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard of people who they go under hypnotic regression that's having repeated abduction experiences, and they're seeing these Bigfoot on the craft, or Bigfoot like creatures. So God only knows, man. I have no clue, man. It's a big fucking mystery to me.
It really is, actually. It's like people go out there, and till this day, they're still looking for, Bigfoot and Mothman and, all the craziness, the Jersey Devil. I mean, I'm a believer in somewhat with that kind of stuff, but and it is really crazy how all of that stuff fits right into the same category. But why? Is it because it's a mystery? Is it because we're trying to get them to be existent with be real? So we don't know. So I guess that's why it fits so well in that category. So
Yeah, and back to, like I said earlier, I'm open to a lot of possibility. I really want to encourage people to keep an open mind, because
absolutely.
my if anything, this stuff has strengthened my faith. Like, it's actually made my faith. I'm more devout and a follower of God than I've ever been.
Right.
And because I think that there's a lot more to creation and the universe, that even goes past the 12 dimensions that make up this universe, or 11 or 12.
Yeah.
So I just really want to encourage everybody to keep an open mind,
Absolutely.
regardless of what
Oh,
your preconceived beliefs is.
yeah. I mean, TV makes it more scary than it really is. And I think that's why people are not so open minded to the supernatural. It's like, oh my God, they see this dark shadow and immediately they think it's a demon. So nobody really wants to go out and experience the supernatural because, like I said, TV really makes it out more than it is, but that's how TV is. So my question is that I'm very
Zach
curious.
Baggin.
Shut up. Now I'm really you leave him alone, okay?
She's got
But
a
yes,
crush on him.
shut up. So I'm not the only one, okay? So I've been to his museum and everything else, but that's not the point. I hate when he does this to me.
Sorry.
A lot of people do.
It's fine. It's fine. It is what it is. You're lucky I'm not wearing a hoodie tonight because I'm going to put that on in game later just to piss you off. Now you've done it. My question that I have that I'm very curious of, I find it very fascinating that you're so into the phenomenon and the supernatural, especially with your high beliefs. Because usually people with your high beliefs in God and faith and all that, they don't really believe in some of that. They're like, they cut that side off because they're so into their God, the God that they believe in, the Catholic and all that. Like, do you, like, the way you see it, do you think that it's hard for you to believe into that stuff and believe in God at the same time? Like, you understand what I'm trying to get at?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
some people are like so skeptic and they're like, oh no, I believe in God and the faith and, supernatural and the phenomena is a sin. So I'm just really surprised that you're so high up there and you still believe in the supernatural and the phenomenon. It's like kind of just blows my mind a little bit.
yeah. So I would say this. So let's talk about parapsychology for a moment.
Okay.
So this right here, this is where a lot of people I think get confused. So I think we're all born with some degree of psychic abilities. I think some people are naturally more adept than others.
Right.
I think some people are gifted with adept abilities per se.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's just like our five senses. We can use our hands. We can use our hands to do evil. We can do evil. We can murder someone. We can do horrible things to other people.
Right.
But we can also use our senses for good, for good purpose. Like, and that's, I think the same is true for psychic phenomena, psychic abilities. We had people, we have adept clairvoyants. They are able to perceive events and people in other parts of space time that are missing or possibly have been murdered, and sometimes with remarkable success. Now they're not perfect with it. None of us are perfect. I'm not perfect. Y'all,
I'm not either.
none
I'm
of us
weird.
are.
It's okay.
And sometimes we make mistakes with our senses.
Yeah,
we're humans.
absolutely.
And but there's some people out there that use their abilities, and I think it's God-given talent for good purposes. And then but then sometimes there are also people who use it for bad and nefarious purposes. I think it's the duality of mankind. I think that we have we can choose to do good or we can choose to do evil, and I think that's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. One of the things that most people don't really understand about Christianity, especially those who say they're well versed or they're very into the religious Christian theology, what they fail to understand, and this is something that I've learned in my research, there are a lot of things that the early Christians believed in that they don't believe in today because of the Catholic Church.
Mhm.
Did you know that one of those is that early Christians believed in reincarnation?
Some people do. I don't know where I stand on that. That's pretty interesting point. The short answer is I don't know. Anything's possible with my creator. So
Right.
at the end of the day, he might have some special purpose for that in some cases. The accounts of near-death experiences that I've researched hundreds of them. I did an interview with a guy named Howard Storm, who had one of the most remarkable near-to-death experiences I've ever heard of. He was the first interview I actually did in Project Stargate, and that was a life-changing experience for him. But there is some anecdotal evidence out there that suggests that maybe, possibly, some people might have had experiences like that. On the other hand, it also could be something else. They could be using clairvoyant abilities that they don't understand that they have or don't understand yet. There's several possibilities. So, the short answer, that's a good point, and I honestly don't know. That's a mystery. It definitely is.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow, that's a whole lot of shit of information.
like I said before we started the show, I'm a bit of a nerd, and I will ask those, deep and albeit a strange question at times. But that's kind of what we do as paranormal investigators, whether it's
Absolutely.
UFOs,
Yep.
supernatural, cryptid, whatever.
That's how
I
we
think,
learn from each other.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think part of the problem is the education system, and this is not a political thing. Uh, the education system teaches us to sit down, shut up. There's only one right answer. You have to figure this out by yourself,
Yeah.
and oh, it's that very locked in mentality. But that can't work in a paranormal study. You have to be open minded. You have to ask questions. You have to
Yeah.
look at alternative answers. You have to work with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. With that being said, there's been in the past there were some times when I came across some data that I try to analyze hyper analyze data, and there's been a couple times I think in the past, where some stuff was kind of challenging, but then as I prayed on it and I thought it through, and I was thinking, okay, well, this may be possible because this and that.
Right.
um,
Right.
and you really, like, the problem on, regardless of what your preconceived beliefs are, is people on both sides of, religious, non-religious, or whatever. There's a lot of closed-minded individuals, and my biggest thing is keep an open mind. Just
You have to.
and
Yeah.
do research before you make a decision.
Yeah, same thing can be said about science because I've known a lot of people that are diehard science. Uh, they live and breathe science, and even they can be just as dogmatic as some of the more religious side of people.
Absolutely. I've come across that. I've definitely come across that. You're right on both. I've experienced both sides of that. There's this really nice woman I used to work with years ago. I was telling her about my research, and she's like, I don't believe in ETs. I said, well, how
Mm.
do you know? I said, well, how do you know they're actually ETs? What if
Right.
there's something completely different? But it's besides the point. People are going to believe. Some people are just going to believe whatever they're going to believe, and that's
Right.
okay. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Mm.
It doesn't affect me. It doesn't change the data that I'm aware of. It doesn't change what I've learned, and I'm trying to. And like I said earlier, it's helped. This is, if anything, it's helped me grow very spiritual and close to God. It
Right.
absolutely has.
Absolutely. I mean, I have had some weird experiences where I'm getting there to believe in God myself, even though I have my own beliefs. But sometimes that weirdness kind of gives you a little kick in the ass. Say, hey, listen, you gotta open up and believe a little bit more. But it is what it is. So
It's part of being on a spiritual journey. It's a
yeah,
spirit. As you evolve as a human being in your natural life, you're going to come across data, and some of that data may shock you. It may
oh yeah,
it may shake you up. It may be challenging. What matters is how you react to it.
yeah,
That's what really
absolutely,
matters, and that's what I've learned. And it's helped me grow as a person. It really has. It helps me grow as a man. And I really am thankful for what I've uncovered and what I'm knowing. And it's just been it's been a hell of an experience. It's been a wild ride. And please, everyone, keep an open mind.
absolutely. You have to, especially when it comes to all these weird things and supernatural and phenomenons, and you just don't know what you're gonna run into, and you'd be like, "Oh shit! I wish I could have had an open mind to this because now I need to know that." So you kind of have to these days
Mm.
sometimes to be very open.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That is the truth.
Hmm. Well, we are about that time. Is there anything you would like to add that you have coming up in the future to let everybody know?
Well, I'll say this. So we have an archive of great interviews on my YouTube page, Product Stargate Fringe Research. It's very simple to find on YouTube. Uh, we I've had some. I've done some. I've been blessed to do it with some great interviews.
Mhm.
Everybody from Kathleen Marden to Daryl Sims, the Alien Hunter,
Nice.
and a lot of other good people. And um, I I would that there's about 2 years worth of archived interviews on that. They were pre-recorded. My new program, What Lies Beyond, is live, and the algorithm has a hard time when you search for it on YouTube, but you can access it from our new Project Stargate Paranormal Research Society group page on Facebook. And I haven't put out but about 4 or 5 episodes, I think, because of my life schedule. But when I can find someone to help me manage this and kind of help me produce content, that's going to become a weekly thing. That's my goal. My short-term goal is to make it do weekly broadcasts. And once I have the time, once I get that squared away, I'll be able to do it on a regular basis like you guys do, and that's hopefully I'll be able to pick up some listeners and more listeners. Some of my old listeners watch the show, but that's what I'm working on right now, and I'm hoping that soon that I'll be able to produce more content. That is my goal. And one last thing I'd say, I know I've said this like a broken record.
It's okay.
But the last thing I want to say is keep an open mind. I can't overstress that. If I had a closed mind, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Absolutely.
Right. And I really enjoyed being with both of you.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, we enjoy having you, and don't hesitate to share all your links and whatever you want to post. And this is your home now, so you can share anything you like, and we'll get all your information on our Facebook to make sure you get more extra followers for YouTube.
Well, thank you very much.
On that note, Ann and I will be working to get the Paraphobia page straightened out, and we'll also get the YouTube channel going away with that. So in the meantime, if you want, message me all the links that you have, and I will post them on Spectre Radio.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about
don't
that.
worry. I'll post them on Spectre Radio, and that way people can actually check them out. And also, if you're interested, I can set you up with a meeting with somebody from Parapost, and you can get your show on Parapost Network Central.
Yeah, okay. It's great. My show is on there as well as his.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd like to check that out. I wasn't familiar with it until we started our podcast, started the show earlier. I would really appreciate that. And
I'll send absolutely.
And if you don't mind, I'm going to send you a friend request as well.
Yeah.
All right.
And do you go on Paranormal Investigation to Haunted Location?
Oh, okay. So
and regularly, or I shouldn't say it. Do you go on them often enough to feel comfortable to be involved with an event?
So I've been out in the field a few times. I'm interested in doing that because I've been out a few times. I've just had some of my own experiences that I haven't really gone out and done anything like that a whole lot, but I am interested. I'm definitely interested. Absolutely.
Right. The reason why I'm asking is because there's this event called the Global Ghost Hunt, and this is the first. It happens twice a year. First one is coming up in just a couple of months. And basically what it is 10 days of live streaming on location investigation.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And, there's different time slots, there's different packages. I kind of forget what the cost is, but if you're interested in getting yourself registered there, you can go to globalghosthunt.com, or you can check them out on Facebook. If you have a location in mind, great. If you don't, they have staff that will help you find a location.
That's so nice.
And if you want to try to collaborate with another team, I'm sure they can help you out with that too. So this way you're not having to feel this alone, not sure what you're doing.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you for all that information. Thank you so much. You guys have been wonderful. I'm going to post links on my group page to your stuff as well. And
Thank you.
this is how we learn from one another: is sharing information and helping each other out. That's how we learn. We grow as men and women, and we're going to, and the more we do this, the better, the closer we're going to come to solving some of these mysteries.
All right. And one last question.
Sure.
Are you a gamer?
Oh yes. Oh my. Oh yes.
Do you game on PC?
Yes.
Oh, we might have a winner.
All right, because there's a game that Anna and I play called The Demonologist. And what it is, it's a paranormal investigation game, and you actually have to use equipment like you use in real investigative field. And you go into these different locations, you have to get at least 3 pieces of evidence to identify what spirit is in that location, and then you have to go to a secondary mission to be able to exorcise the spirit from that location.
Yep.
Oh wow. It sounds kind of like there's another one that starts with a P.
Phasmophobia.
Yeah, I've got that one too.
We play that too.
I'll pick up the demonologist. I'll get the demonologist. I'll pick it up.
Yeah, I know right now it's less than $20 to get.
Yeah,
it's totally worth it.
I've seen it on Steam. I like all genres. I'm a nerd like you are. My wife makes fun of me to no end, but whatever.
Yeah, well, your living room doesn't look like a 12-year-old room because I have Star Wars memorabilia all over. I have a limited licensed reprint of the original Star Wars movie poster from the 70s.
Oh yeah, let me show you something real quick.
Sorry, Anna.
Hang on just a minute. All right.
No, that's okay. Oh, I have the
same one. Yeah.
These are original prints of the Doors' first album. It's kind of
nice.
I got my Star Trek stuff up there, which is a mess. I got
I
got Lapidus and Borg right up there. But anyway, yeah, I'm with. Yeah, we think alike, my brother. We think alike.
Yeah, I got the X-Files same poster in my room. So I have a whole bedroom full of horror figures and horror posters, and I'm more of a Star Wars fan instead of Star Trek. Sorry.
That's okay. That's all right. Yeah. I like Star Wars also. I like their old stuff, specifically the first 6 episodes.
Yeah.
That's really what I like. Absolutely.
Yeah, I can't, for some reason, can't get into Star Trek. Is this how the show is? I'm like, they don't do anything for me. They just teleport from one place to another. It's like, that's it. That's it. That's all this is about. It's like, what is going on? Like, you watch people sit on a ship and talk for hours on end.
Well, the newer ones are more about space travel and connecting with alien
that
species.
was like the old Star Trek.
Well, the original one with William Shatner as Captain Kirk, all that was about was a space captain getting it on with as many space alien babes as he could.
That's about true. It really is.
Oh shit!
The green ones included.
Yeah. So, well, I guess that's it. So, what we'll do is I'll just put you in the back room, and then we'll close out the show. And then after that, we'll kind of talk more about getting connected and things like that, and everything squared away.
All right. Thank you so much for y'all having me. I've really enjoyed this.
You're welcome, Mark. My
pleasure.
Been a
blessing. It really has been a blessing.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right. We'll talk to you in just a moment, Mark.
Okay.
All right. Well, that was definitely a cool show to do. And we'll have to get him back on.
Yes, we will. So, are you ready for our next guest next Friday coming up?
I don't know who that is.
Well, that's
and remember, I have a guest on February 3rd.
That's quite okay. So we have a guest coming up this Friday. I will post a flyer. It should be ready by tomorrow at some point. I usually have it ready by Sunday, but I've been kind of swamped the last couple of days with family going on. So, but tune in for that. What is next Friday's date? I will post everything and all the information for everybody. And I want to make sure it's not the 3rd. Nope, you're good. It's the 2nd. Okay. I want to make sure because I'd be like, please, Aaron, don't leave me.
Don't worry. So What have you got going on?
I am working on some new products for Etsy. I am working on some new logos. I'm trying to work on other things to add on to my shop. And I am still making candles. February is around the corner, so new candles this week with new designs will be out. So tune in for that. I will post it on my candle website. I will put the links all on here as well, so everybody can see what's going on. I am open all week for readings. Check that out, 9 to 5 all week. Sunday I am not open. And if you are wanting to be a guest on here, please let me know. I do book out very fast. So if you have a date, if you're interested, don't be shy to come on here. Team, no team, you're more welcome. And psychics and mediums are welcome on here as well. If you want to do a live reading, please private message me and we can get you all hooked up on here as well.
All right. Well, with that being said, as I say on my show, and I'll say it here, be smart, be safe, stay spooky.